as we know, the internet can be a negative place, and unfortunately, the One Piece TCG is no exception from that. So many people talk about negative things about this card game, talking about that it's all going to go to zero, it's not worth getting into, or that you've missed the boom. But guys, I'm here to tell you in today's video why none of that is the case at all. In fact, I want to address a couple of concerns I'm always seeing pop up online that we're going to quell in today's video, and I'm going to instill a little bit more hope into you guys as to why this is now the golden opportunity to be a part of this experience, to be a part of history. So if that all sounds good to you guys, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And real quick, guys, I've been sponsored by Cyberpunk TCG. They've got an incredible card game from the official people behind Cyberpunk 2077, an amazing game. I'm already starting to play it again because my passion for it is reunited. I love the game so much, and the fact they're making a card game is absolutely incredible. There's a link down in the description below. Their Kickstarter is about to end, so if you want to be a part of that experience, guys, be a part of another piece of history in the making, be sure to click it, support their Kickstarter, and get some Cyberpunk TCG cards. That sounds so sick. Why wouldn't you want to do that? But anyways, guys, with that being said, let's get into the video. So, okay, the internet, very negative place. A lot of bad takes, a lot of bad opinions. But most importantly, there's just so much negativity online that you really need to learn how to filter this sort of stuff. I mean, if you go on the subreddit Pirate Folk, it is just full of people bashing Ichiro Oda, bashing One Piece, all that sort of stuff. And sometimes I worry that, because of the way the internet's designed, or I should say social media and algorithms, I find a lot of times we can find ourselves unknowingly falling into these communities where we're being told negative sentiments, we're being told lies, we're being told misinformed opinions, I should say. And I want to put a spotlight on that because that's like the first step in understanding that sometimes our thoughts and opinions about things are not actually our own. We're just absorbing a lot of negativity online and a lot of misinformation, which could really skew our perspective on things. But when it comes to the One Piece TCG, a lot of people really think that this card game is not going to go much further. A lot of people think that it'll never be what Pokemon is, and it's always being compared to everything else, right? And guys, I'm here to say right now that we really need to look at One Piece a little separately from Pokemon. There's obviously correlations between the two. I mean, they're both card games. Their IPs are basically close to the same age, which is 30 years old, by the way. One Piece is literally about to be 30 years old. Think about that. But what people fail to realize is that, the One Piece TCG is still so young, and yet it's made such a massive impact. Pokemon has been around for a long time, just like One Piece, but the card game itself has been around forever, okay? The One Piece TCG just started. It started in 2022, I think, at the tail end of 2022. And it's made such a huge impact. The explosion of these cards has been absolutely phenomenal. And, I was never, super into Pokemon cards growing up. I bought a couple here and there. Do I regret not buying Pokemon cards back then? Absolutely. But even Yu-Gi-Oh! I had a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards that didn't maintain their pristine quality, so that was a little unfortunate. But since getting into the One Piece TCG, I've really kind of learned how to navigate card quality and learn about, PSA 10s and getting your cards graded and so many great things, I technically kind of came from the One Piece era into the other card games because while I did buy cards here and there, I never professionally started looking at cards the way I do now. I don't think many of us did. I mean, so many people growing up would have laughed at you if you said, I'm going to invest in cards, absolutely ridiculous. But now in 2026, opinions are starting to change. People are starting to see that perhaps there is something to this. And the whole concept of collectibles and cards being like another investment class, or an asset class, I should say, is super fascinating, right? Because there's all this demand, we see prices go up and down and all that sort of great stuff. So it really does kind of hold a strong narrative when it comes to an investment vehicle. But let's pull it back to the One Piece TCG, right? So, it's a very new card game. It's just getting started. The IP is massive, guys. We're seeing so many, we're not seeing as many IPs these days. As I grow up, I'm literally going to be 32 soon, okay? I hate to admit that. But, in my almost 32 years of life, coming from the era where IPs were everywhere, TV shows were being made left, right, and center, and cartoons and animes that, the masses have long moved on from but have never forgotten. And I just feel like now when you turn on TV or see what Netflix is pumping out, it's either going to be old IPs that people loved, or every now and again something new comes out and it's all right, or it's decent. But I just find like studios are really struggling to create IPs. I think that there's some kind of formula missing, or there's too much economic turmoil for companies to really kind of prosper when it comes to creating things. And I know like artists are not being paid enough, and there's just a lot of corruption and stuff going on in the world. A lot of really crazy things, right? But we need to realize One Piece has earned its stripes, okay? This isn't like an IP that came out 5 years ago and now it's like, kind of going somewhere. One Piece has stood the test of time, guys. It has been around for almost as long as I have, which is like a really crazy thing to say. In fact, many of you out there are younger than One Piece, which is super fascinating. And the thing is, Oda himself is still writing the story. I'm always about spoilers. I spoil every chapter. Like, I actually am in a couple of Discords. I'm just a fanatic for this stuff. I'm constantly looking at what the spoilers, what the leaks are. I know there's a lot of controversy around that stuff too. We should obviously let Oda just release it when he's ready to release it. But I'm just so addicted to his writing and the characters and the situation. And as you know, we're in Elbaf right now and things are really, really starting to unfold. But that is the love of the story. The One Piece story is just so incredibly good that people out there want it to be ruined. They want it to be spoiled because they just want to know what's going to come next, right? And that's millions of people, by the way. There are millions and millions of One Piece fans out there. There's millions and millions of Pokemon fans out there. But what makes One Piece so unique is how it has nothing to do with Pokemon. It's like its own thing, just like how Yu-Gi-Oh's its own thing. I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh might be making a comeback soon. I got a lot of flack for the whole Union Arena stuff. And you know what, guys? Like, no hate to any card game out there. I just find when a card game does need to have, like, a bunch of IPs in one, it's just kind of like, I mean, how do you... Like, you need, like, 20 IPs, 10 IPs to combat one, And, like, again, it's not about saying, oh, One Piece is better than all your card games, like, get fucked. It's not like that. It's just that we need to be able to look at these things under a lens. We need to really kind of, like, identify and compartmentalize and judge and put together what's working, what's not, what's going to have a bigger impact. One Piece's story is still being written, okay? We're almost 30 years into this. We are approaching OP16 soon, and then we're going to have the OP17 4th anniversary set, which God only knows what's going to be in that. Perhaps we get Elbaf cards, which would be absolutely insane. Really unsure. I'm actually willing to bet that's possibly going to happen. And if you're not caught up right now, now is the time to get caught up. There's no spoilers here. But, I really do think, as the show continues to air and they animate the episodes, I mean, we just started Elbaf in the actual anime itself, like, the animation. And I do know that there's going to only be, I think, 26 episodes this year. But guys, the first 26 episodes is kind of like, getting you into the story. And then the other half is going to be the crazy, crazy shit that's going to go down. Just like Egghead, okay? And when OP13 came out, Egghead kind of felt like the theme for that set because of like the God Packs and all this sort of stuff. And I really think that when we get to the peak of Elbaf, when it's actually being animated, there's going to be a lot of press on it. There's going to be a lot of media on it. People are going to be talking again. And that's like the thing that's really fascinating about One Piece is that from the top down, it's like a constant wave of hype. From the leaks to the actual manga itself, to the conversations, to the community, to the animation, then to movies. We're apparently getting a new movie soon for the One Piece TCG. There's just like constant waves of hype for the One Piece IP. And like you don't really see that in many other IPs. It's really unfortunate what happened to Avatar recently. I actually have this thing here from when I was buying the Avatar cards. Really cool little poster there. And as you might not know, the latest Avatar movie got leaked. And what a disaster. The entire movie has been leaked online. Super disastrous for Paramount, I think, who are behind it. It's going to hurt the Avatar IP. Sure, people are going to love it. Apparently, it's a great movie, which is good because I love Avatar. But, this is going to hurt the studio. This is going to hurt the IP. It's going to hurt the people who can create more of Avatar, right? It's going to literally impact their IP, which is disastrous. And, we've been very lucky that One Piece hasn't had that happen yet. Like Oda, he's a wizard. He's in his little office. He's very, he's very anonymous. Like, he doesn't really show his face. And that's what I love about him. He's all about the story. It's not about him. And there's just so many great things about this. Also, do I even have to remind you, the live action is currently still in its infancy. We're only on season 2. Season 3 was announced. We're going to Alabasta. Crocodile, all that fantastic stuff's coming. Season 2 was phenomenal. I literally cried at episode 7, which is crazy. It's great. And we're getting a remake of the anime. From Wit Studios and stuff like that. There's just so much to consider, guys. This IP is huge. It's massive. It is not comparable to anything else. You know what? Even Pokemon. It cannot be compared to Pokemon. Pokemon has the advantage of having a shit ton of cute little Pokemon and just cool Pokemon, right? That we all grew up and loved. And you know what? I love that. I love Rayquaza. I love Gengar. I love Metagross. That's perfect. It has found its niche, and it has completely capitalized on it. And that is awesome. And that kind of fits a certain part of society and all that stuff. One Piece, it's literally the story. Like, I don't care about the Pokemon story at all. I stopped caring after, movie, 8, okay? Loved the old Pokemon days with Ash and Brock and Misty and all that stuff. But, I can't even follow it now. Ash looks different. It's a different voice actor. I just can't. I don't even think it's Ash anymore, is it? I don't, that's just me now, but it has the IP. But the story of One Piece is still unfolding. It's it's so amazing that we get to experience this still. Imagine all the people out there who 10, 20 years down the road, who are going to have the One Piece spoiled without even watching the show. They're going to be like, okay, just tell me, what's the One Piece? Just tell me what the One Piece is. Do you have any idea how bad I feel for those people? I feel so sad because the hype to follow a story such as this is incomparable to anything I've ever experienced. I love Lord of the Rings. I love Star Wars. I love a lot of nerdy stuff. Marvel. Marvel's not doing too good these days, but it had its time. I just feel like we don't see many IPs anymore that have this kind of following, have this kind of hype. So I really do think the card game in itself is only just beginning. And I also just want you to remember that even when the One Piece, story ends, you and I, the people watching these videos, the people who are buying these cards, and the people down the road who will want to buy these cards, they're going to want to buy these cards, whether you think they will or not. Because people will come up one day, come across a pristine 10 manga Luffy or something, and they will be like, holy shit, I want that, right? We've all been there. You go to a card show, you're like, I want that, right? Even with Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't really buy Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards anymore. And sometimes I come across a PSA 8 or 9 of an old Yu-Gi-Oh! Card. And I'm like, I want that. How much? And everybody has a price, right? So that being said, guys, I hope this kind of instills some, hope into your souls again for the One Piece TCG, guys. I really do think things are only just beginning. And, even Rudy himself, the Cardboard King, has said that, One Piece is in a really great place right now, which is really great. And I love his opinions on this because you can tell he's not really into One Piece, but he's acknowledging what the market's telling him. So I think that really says a lot. But anyways, guys, I really do hope this was a good talk, and I hope this kind of instilled some excitement for anyone out there who's a little pessimistic or a little worried about the One Piece TCG. Guys, things are looking great. And I don't know about you, but I cannot wait to see what the 4th anniversary is going to be. I cannot wait to see the end of Elbaf, and I cannot wait to see where these cards are going to go, because they are going to make such amazing quality cards. And that's what bothers me, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to afford all of these incredible cards, especially the ones that haven't been made yet. But remember, there's risk to everything. What you do with your money is your responsibility, but have fun out there, okay? Anyways, guys, I hope you did enjoy. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. The video should pop on the screen. Be sure to click it, and I will see you over there.